First, a bit about me. I am Malay. I started my journey in edtech. From there, of course, I work at Vyapar, which is a business management software, one of India's fastest growing in terms of SaaS in this domain. Apart from that, I mentor PMs. That's become a very big part of what I do. In the past 1 year, I work with product managers or aspiring product managers, trying to understand where they are and their journey, and how I can contribute. Let's get started with what we are here for. We are here for understanding AI, understanding what it can do, what it has done, and then finally how we can leverage it. Right. It doesn't need to tell you that AI has exploded. I think AI was always considered this logic mapping tool that people used to use I mean, as another word, as an enhanced word for a dignified if only or if else, or rather. Uh, but now it's exploded. Now, I think the only difference that people can see is there is a product that within 10 seconds of using it in your face gives you its value. I think that was what was missing, because from a technology perspective, of course, we have become uh, really advanced and strong, but it's not like this has happened overnight. We already had a lot of these technologies, but why it has exploded, and it's a big lesson for all of us product managers, is time to value is immensely short for ChatGPT. You log in, put in one statement, and you see output, and that output is of a quality that is, I mean, that will blow your mind literally. So AI has exploded, and one thing that we love as product managers, and I'm sure a lot of you who are PMs or early PMs, we just love early adopters. I mean, I just love my early adopters, the first 5,000, 10,000 people who would just lap up your feature, give you feedback, use it like crazy, and break it till you are able to fix it for the entire mass audience. And I feel PMs must be those early adopters for AI, for generative AI in specific. I mean, this is what we have to contribute. It's almost important, it's almost necessary for us to be in touch, to own this space in terms of using it as our co-pilots, using it for our documents, using it for email, and all of the use cases that you mentioned. I think, obviously, I'm a bit biased because I love product management, and that's where I am. But I think it suits product management the most out of all the job domains that exist. Something like Chat GPT, something like what we have right now, is the most suited to automate a lot of work that PMs need to do, which is why leveraging Chat GPT or leveraging any of these AI tools that are present must be of prime importance to you if you are in your product journey, if you're early in your product journey. You need to sit and you need to spend time understanding what it means, understanding what it stands for, and understanding what it can do. And once you've got that, understanding how you can do it, right? So it's almost a responsibility in terms of us planning our careers, us growing through our careers. It's almost a responsibility of sorts for us to be able to give our best in leveraging Chat GPT or these plugins or these AI tools. And that is why I say I think PMs must be early adopters, right? But if you adopt AI, the big gold question is it going to take our jobs? And I'm going to answer it in a very cliched manner. I think you must have read this statement multiple times, that no, AI will not take our jobs, but someone using it will. So I personally feel the benchmark of what a PM can do is going to be much higher in the coming time than it is right now. I feel with tools like Chat GPT and tools like, I mean, I was using one that collates feedback. We're building one inside our company as well. One of our really talented PMs is looking at it. So I feel the benchmark of what a PM can achieve in his role is going to change drastically in the next 4 to 5 years. I think a lot of project management elements will go away, because that's where Chat GPT or these AI tools hit you the most. They take existing processes and streamline and reduce the time taken extraordinarily, give an extraordinarily delta there, right? So the benchmark of who is a great PM, who is a good PM, is going to change forever because of AI. Right now, if someone is good at communication, stakeholder management, documentation, they would already be 30-40% of a good PM already. That's going to go out of the window. Every PM is going to have enough leverage of using a chat GPT subscription. These tools are going to get better. They're going to plug in with other tools like we use, Jira, Confluence, Figma, etc. They're all going to be integrated with AI, and that is when and that is because of that, those skills will be pretty much useless because everyone will know how to get AI to do it. So that is why the benchmark of being a PM is going to become higher, which is why we must adapt, overcome, and improvise. Adapt to what is going on. Adapt to using Chat GPT in your process. Adapt to using it extensively, giving those extra 1 or 2 hours every week to understand what it is and where it's coming from. Overcome this bias of, okay, this is just AI, I can't get the best out of it, and so on and so forth. And then finally use it and improve your own benchmark and your level of topics, right? uh, Awesome. Now, so our focus, like I said, in this day and age is to stay relevant in these times of AI. Let's set up the agenda for the session. Very quickly, we are going to pick up 4 things in the session. We'll start off by understanding the limitations of ChatGPT. We'll talk about, okay, where is it that ChatGPT lacks and how PMs can add value in that direction. Then we will move on to ChatGPT's capabilities. We will understand what ChatGPT can do for us in terms of where we think, or where I think it has the most delta. Then we will move on to the core of the session, which is mega prompting, which is deep diving into how you should construct a prompt. We will talk about what people usually use ChatGPT for and how it should be used. And then we will take 2 examples of ChatGPT at work for PM. So we will write a solution document for a problem in Swiggy, and then we will write a GTM document for a problem at Vyapar or problem at any billing software, right? So that's what we're going to cover. Super excited for this, and yeah, let's start. So we'll start with the limitations, and a lot of you might already know this, but ChatGPT cannot think on its own yet. It means it cannot generate an idea that has not been implemented right so far. It cannot tweak existing ideas. So if you look at a lot of products, they are essentially tweaks to existing processes that make them 5 times, 7 times, 10 times better. You could order food from restaurants, but Swiggy comes in and says, hey, I can do this process for you in 5 minutes. You used to do it in 20. So giving you a 3 times delta of time saved. They were all existing processes. People thought of tweaks on top of them because of the technology available and built great products there. But now, but chat gpt cannot do that. Chat gpt cannot think or tweak these ideas on its own. They can only understand what we tell it to understand. What this means is prompts have to be as deep as possible to really get a very clear cut utility of chat gpt. If you give it a very basic prompt, if you give it a one liner, two liner, you are not going to get the best out of chat gpt. You're only going to get the wow, but that's going to be a lot of fluff, right? If you look at the limitations, an inherent bias in chat gpt exists, right? It was trained on multiple humans writing things over the internet, and unfortunately this means that the biases that exist right now exist on chat gpt. I mean, we have had a long history of mankind, and certain biases against, I mean, gender, race, etc., etc., they are all found to be there in chat gpt, which means that you cannot expect something new, long and short of it. I'm sure a lot of you might have experienced it. Chat gpt can does not have depth. So things where you need depth, for example, a lot of you mentioned copywriting. I feel email copywriting at times doesn't need a lot of depth. It needs to be to the point and it needs to be crisp. That's where chat gpt is good at. Thinking or product management is something where it's imperative that you get a lot of depth, and chat gpt would usually give answers that I find a lot of fluff. I find a lot of answers that are really short, not elaborated, not well done. And while it gives you the wow, because you are coming from a lens of, hey, a machine is able to tell me this, like it's crazy. But if you were asked to evaluate that, and that is given to you by saying that this is a human's work, you might not rate it as well. Finally, I feel the best products require emotions, require to tug at the right emotions: frustration, satisfaction, happiness, joy. And ChatGPT can't do it. ChatGPT can mimic emotions. If you tell it to be fun, it will be fun in a very archaic, like, hey, here is how you can do it kind of way. It's not going to be actually fun. So it's got no emotions, and it can never really bring those emotions out. And that's the big problem with ChatGPT. But that brings us to its capabilities, right? Now, ChatGPT's limitations allow us to use it as a complement to our work. And that's true for everyone: PMs, growth folks, marketing folks, data folks, tech folks. If you look at ChatGPT as a co pilot, now, how I look at it is a junior PM working with me, where I can delegate a lot of things, but I cannot delegate it without giving a lot of context to ChatGPT. That's how you need to look at it. If you are using it in your role, look at it like an assistant who you can delegate things only if you know enough about them. You cannot delegate things that you don't know anything about and expect ChatGPT to give you results. For example, you cannot know nothing about SEO and ask it to give you the best tricks about SEO, because it will give you some tricks, but they would be very basic first level tricks that you will never be able to utilize and get value out of. The main part of looking at ChatGPT is uh, looking at it as only things that you already know are things that they are good, that it is good at. So it's, I mean, a funny example, I'm sure a lot of you must have watched Lagero Munna Bhai, and there is this whole sequence where Sanjay Dutt is able to talk about Mahatma Gandhi because he has studied a lot about it, but he can only answer what he but Mahatma Gandhi in his case can only answer what Sanjay Dutt knows. And it's very, I mean, eerily similar to how Chat GPT is. It can only give you back what it knows, but it can give you back in a form and shape that is very useful, and that will reduce a lot of your typing effort, a lot of your documenting effort, and a lot of your thought process effort, right? So that's how I look at it, and that's how I recommend people looking at chat gpt as well. It's the perfect co-pilot, but it's not it's not an employee, and that is why it's not going to take our jobs. But yeah, someone using chat gpt as an assistant would probably do that. Deep diving into the capabilities, and why I said things that you already know can be used and ChatGPT can enhance them. Validating decisions, right? If you already have decisions that you have taken, ChatGPT can come on and validate it because it has the collective intelligence of the internet, right? Think of it as a student who studied the entire internet. You tell it that, hey, we've got these four paths, we are thinking of this, could you give me pros and cons of each? It will probably do a good job with that context, rather than telling it to take a decision based on your context. So saying that, hey, we are looking to focus on retention and activation for a food order delivery order product or a marketplace, could you look at examples in the past where marketplace companies have taken a similar decision and tell me pros and cons about it? That's the right way of looking at it, instead of saying that, hey, we are such and so company, tell us how to take this decision. Validating decisions is where chat gpt can be used better, rather than asking it to make discussions or decisions rather. Next is summarizing discussions. I'm sure a lot of you might already be using a lot of AI tools, a lot of AI assistants. I use Otter, for example, for my own discussions where it can transcribe and summarize. ChatGPT is great at that. I do it all the time. Articles from various websites. The word limit is a challenge, but if you paste them in a open web browser or an open Google Doc, you can ask it to summarize, and that is something that it does so well. So collective knowledge of, let's say you're looking at a secondary research report and it's a 100-page report. I mean, SME reports are what, 90, 80, 90 pages, and go 5 page by page and ask it to summarize it, and you will see that is where it gives incredible amount of depth and incredible amount of leverage to you in terms of how you can use chat gpt. Pathways to a goal. This is similar to telling it a goal that, hey, this is what I want to achieve, and then allowing it to give you actions to get to that goal. For example, if you want to achieve, if you already know that your product or your feature is going to take 5 sprints of 2 weeks each, and you tell that to chat gpt and say, hey, how should I allocate my engineers? I have got 5 engineers who are available, tell me. It is then when it can tell you, this is what chat gpt can do, right? Or this is what chat gpt will tell you, okay, you should put this much bandwidth here, this much bandwidth there, and so on and so forth. But unless you give it a pathway, you will not be able to actually figure out what is ChatGPT's real utility. Next is supplementary ideation. Supplementary ideation is again you being able to give it context, and it providing you additional ideas to what you already are doing. For example, you are framing a problem statement. You've given it all the context, but you're not able to use that context and cover the entire problem well. That is when ChatGPT can come in and give you a great supplement to your entire idea, right? Working backwards, like I said, if your end goal is clear, if you are telling it that, hey, this is how so and so company did it, this is how so and so people did it, tell me a way I can achieve it, it's going to give you a much more clear and concise picture of it. uh, and finally, researching competitors. I think I do that a lot of times, asking chat gpt and of course bard, because bard has internet access as well, asking both of them about competitors, about their journey, their decisions, is something that uh, something that you can leverage or you can use. So researching competitors is the number one thing that I use it for. But yeah, these are the capabilities of ChatGPT. This is how I think PMs can use it the best. Before we move forward, I actually want to talk a little bit about Appraise Know Yourself test. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know about it. If for you don't, who don't, it's a great objective case study based test to understand where you stand among other product managers. I think it's one of the better tests that you would come across in product management. On your left on the screen, you could see how your skills and blind spots and strengths are summarized in a sample report. Product sense, communication, tech, problem solving, data driven, experimentative, and result oriented. And you know your blind spots because of looking at it. If you look at the test, it answers questions like, is product management the right fit for you? Are you getting what you deserve in terms of your pay? What is the pay grade? What are the pay scales? What are your strengths and what are your blind spots? So it's amazing. It's an amazing representation of where you stand as a PM, and that is why I recommend you to, after this session, if you've got time on this weekend, give it. It's going to take you 45 minutes to an hour, I think, to finish, and it's fantastic. This is how you get to know. I mean, you have to compare with top PMs and your performance, and I mean, they use these kind of charts in sports, right? I mean, for cricketers, he's good at onside, aggressive, and all of those things. It's fantastic to see this for product managers. It's an amazing test. It's called the KYS. Just Google Upraised KYS, or I think the link is in the chat as well. It's going to help you understand your strengths and your blind spots, and once you have done that, it's going to suggest or figure out why and how and when you could transition to be a product manager, alongside telling you your strengths, blind spots, and other things like, okay, what are you being paid right now, what is the possibilities, and so on and so forth. Awesome. Let's get back and let's get to the second part of our conversation, which is leveraging ChatGPT via prompts, right? Now, the problem with prompting is because ChatGPT is so easy to use and so easy to wow, people enter very basic prompts and expect results. For example, people expect write a PRD for me for loyalty points in a software, and it expects you to give a very detailed PRD. Now, ChatGPT will do it. ChatGPT will give you words, but it will be fluff. It cannot be something that you can take to a developer or anyone, uh, uh, for that matter, to use it as a verified or referred source of building something, which is what brings us to the science of prompting. I'm sure you must have read and heard about prompt engineers. Prompts are the heart and soul of ChatGPT. It is critical to be better at prompting, to be a better user of ChatGPT, and that's what we are going to learn today. And we are going to learn about mega prompts. Now, what are mega prompts? Uh, what it means, first of all, is a lot of the 500 prompts to do this, do that are actually pretty out of the use case for PMs specifically and for others as well. Because the golden rule of ChatGPT is, like I said, it only knows what you know. You cannot expect it to know anything. So those 500 prompts of, hey, give me a way to make $1,000 per month using ChatGPT, they're all never going to work because they're all not really the right prompts. Because honestly, ChatGPT doesn't have the capability to do it. Even the examples of what we see of ChatGPT investing money and understanding markets from that perspective, all of that doesn't work unless you give it that knowledge. So the golden rule that you need to remember while prompting is what you give in is what you get out, right? Which means you need to give a lot of context to ChatGPT for it be able to work its magic. Otherwise, it's going to make up stuff randomly. I mean, I was reading a few message where someone said that they failed their certification, almost failed their certification because of ChatGPT as a reference, and someone was asking, can I refer ChatGPT as a source site? No, you can't. And the reason of that is because it's not referable. It could be, it's basically telling you back what you know, but in a more enhanced manner, and that is what it's going to give you. So that is why you need to always give ChatGPT a lot of context. It will otherwise just make up stuff, and none of it, while it might look pretty, while it might look great in terms of, hey, I've got a lot of these things that are available and written, but it's not going to be pretty usable, right? Which is why to make it usable, you need to understand the science of mega prompting, right? Now let's look at what a mega prompt consists of, right? So a mega prompt, like the word says, is a massive prompt. It's a big prompt, and there are 5 components of a mega prompt. Persona. So you need to start by telling ChatGPT who it needs to imagine itself to be. Imagine yourself to be a seasoned writer. Imagine yourself to be a seasoned product manager. I love a persona that I use for mega prompting all the time. Imagine you are a sensational TV journalist from India and you're writing this. Because it gives you, because then is when it will actually give you something different and something that you can utilize. So the first step of writing a mega prompt is to write who is the right person to talk about this. If you're writing a GTM, imagine himself to ChatGPT to be a seasoned product marketing manager who has so and so qualifications, who writes now again, you can't say that okay, that guy's got 8 years of experience and expect ChatGPT to know कि हाँ 8 year of experience है तो he will write it well. No, you got to give it references that it understands. Like I said, you are so and so working as so and you have a knack of writing really crisp, easy to read English words, or you have a knack of writing really sensationalist headings and describing them later. You need to give it those kind of literal personas. You can't give, I mean, a big problem of how we look at personas is age, gender, and experience and everything. That doesn't matter, because here what you need to give ChatGPT is a persona that it can relate with, right? Next part of the mega prompt is action. which is what do you want it to do? Here, you can tell it to write a PRD, you can tell it to write a GTM document, you can tell it to write an email, but after you've crisply defined the persona, you write the action. And then comes the main part, where is context, where you give chat gpt enormous amount of context for it to be able to build a good prompt, right? Finally, you tell it the format in which you want the output to be formatted. You want it as a document, in a table, do you want certain bullet points for it to mimic, and all of those things. And then if possible, give an example. An example is optional because most of the times without example, with example, it will be very similar, but AI can mimic examples really well, right? So the structure of a mega prompt is start with a persona, give it an action, give it a lot of context, format, and then give examples, right? Let's look at a sample mega prompt, right? Now, what is it? The first thing, persona. Imagine yourself to be an expert product manager and writer, right? What is the action? Please use the following information to write user stories to capture the needs and goals of my users. So you very clearly told ChatGPT that I'm a PM and a writer. Now, the role could have been better here. You could have told it the way of writing, that you write in eloquent long proses, or you write in short crisp bulleted points and so on. That would make it better, but even just writer works because then it will write it properly, right? And then comes the big part of context. Here is where you will not be able to ask chat gpt ki tell me my users needs, because there is no way that there is collective intelligence that can already have figured out users needs without them being really seriously generic. You need to feed the user needs that you have already figured out. You need to feel the user pain points that you have already figured out. You need to tell it to use it in a certain way, and also what features need to be done. So what you need to do in this context piece is where most people, when they look at this or when we discuss, they feel, oh, but I thought this was chat gpt's job. But that's the difference. No, chat gpt's job is not to find your users needs. That's your job. What I'm trying to say is that even if chat gpt or AI tools tried with their current intelligence and their current levels of learning, they will not be able to do it. They cannot manufacture ideas, or they cannot manufacture context. They have to take that from you. They can present it in a very crisp manner. The user story that you're going to write can be very crisp and very clean. It can take you 15-20 minutes to write that story. That is the time chat gpt can save. It's not going to save the 1 hour of figuring out user needs and pain points, right? It will never be a case where you are building something and chat gpt knows the pain points better than you. You have to give it the pain points. Finally, an example in this, there is a training example, a certification course example that you can look at. Examples are optional, but that is what you need to look at, or that is the amount of work it needs to build a mega prompt. But the point of using AI is that you cannot do it cannot do thinking for you. It will be able to save you a lot of time, but don't expect it to do everything. As you use these tools, keep these three things in mind. Don't use AI for your primary thinking. Don't use AI to tell you, hey, tell me what my next feature should be. No, that's something that it cannot do. Even though the hype means a lot of people feel that this is something it can do, it really cannot. Second, you are 100% responsible for your creations. Chat gpt can only reflect what you throw at it. You cannot expect it to generate ideas or generate dimensions. And last is, don't try to use ChatGPT for every small task, because to be honest, while the expectation is it saves a lot of time, unless your task takes a delta of 15 to 20 minutes and you have a lot of context ready, don't give it to chat gpt. Only 15 minutes and above is what you should give. So once again, to summarize, basic 500 prompts to get rich using chat gpt are pretty useless, sorry. You have to learn the art of mega prompting. You have to, when you really want big things delivered out of chat gpt, you need to give it the persona, you need to give the action expected, give a lot of context, the format of the answer, and finally examples. So all this is what you need to do to figure out a good response from ChatGPT. Uh, Once again, there are four ways in which you use this as a PM. Like I mentioned, whenever ChatGPT generates a response, clarify, ask further questions. So, for example, you asked it to make a PRD. Now it has given you a lot of directions. You cannot stop there. You have to go one step deeper and ask for an example again, right? Next, expand. Uh, Once they have given you a set of ideas to work on, expand on it. For example, if it suggests a new pricing strategy, ask it to give examples, ask it to expand on how it works, and so on and so forth. ChatGPT is very often wrong. Ask it to correct. The moment you tell itself to correct, it gives you a better direction. And finally, build on top of what ChatGPT is already built for you. For example, if it suggests a new feature, use it as a starting point to brainstorm your primary thinking. Don't delegate everything to ChatGPT. It might sound like, oh, this is what we expected ChatGPT to do for us, but in all honesty, it's not. In all honesty, ChatGPT is a tool. You can bounce off ideas, you can expand ideas, you can even simplify processes, but it cannot define processes, it cannot define ideas, or it cannot generate ideas yet. Great. And now to ChatGPT in action. I mean, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this through a video, but I felt that that was something that might be too much moving around on this presentation. But yeah, let's get started and let's build some product artifacts. Uh, on the left is a mega prompt that I wrote to improve onboarding on Swiggy. So the situation I built was saying that, hey, you're working at Swiggy, you're working on a PRD to increase user retention. um, you are trying to move all your users towards completing their first food order and then moving it towards other objectives like grocery and so on and so forth. Then I gave it a lot of context. I gave it a lot of context in terms of, hey, I want to position this as a now solution. You're hungry right now, Swiggy is the place to go. That's the job to be done that I wanted to solve for. So my personas could be professionals, mothers, organizers, and everyone who are hungry or who are serving hungry people in now. And the strategy is to present it like a quick food solution. The focus on the onboarding, I gave it to should be as few options as possible, and so on and so forth. I gave it a success criteria saying that, hey, I'm measuring the first order in the first 7 days, and I want it to go from uh, 33% to, sorry, 41% to 53, and 33 to 44. Made up numbers, of course. And then I want to measure the second thing, which is how many repeat orders do they do within the 7 days. So that is why, that is how I've given it the success criteria. And then I gave it the format of the PRD. I want to write a problem alignment, high level, narrative, goals, non goals, solution alignment, key features, future considerations, and key logic. Now if you look at this, this is using the mega prompt example that we just said. We wrote it with a persona who's an expert PM at Swiggy, who's working on so and so, gave it a lot of context and success criteria, then gave it the format of the PRD we want to know, and then looked at, asked it to give you solutions. Now, what happens here is a lot of it is just rephrased from what I already written, right? Problem alignment is something that I already wrote. High level approach, all of this is already wrote. But on your right, when you look at key features, you can see it's suggesting some interesting things to do. Simplified onboarding, personalized recommendation, clear CTA, incentives for first order, seamless transition to groceries. These are things that I did not tell ChatGPT to do, but these are things that it picked up from whatever was written in the mega prompt. Right now, a big problem or a big mistake that a lot of PMs would do is stop here. They would say, okay, this is a nice thing that we've got a lot of words, everything. It's just basically rewritten what I've written it in better, clear, concise English. That's pretty much what it's done. But if you look at it, what I did was I moved and said, hey, I like the key features. Can you double down on each of them and present a detailed approach towards building them? You can include possible UI components and an example of a personalized recipe or so on, right? And I need this in a tabular format. This is where the magic begins, right? Because now it has picked simplified onboarding. It has given me UI components that need to be there, a clear and concise this thing, order food now button, minimalist sign up or login form to collect essential information. It's given me an example of a personalized message or recipe, order food in a few taps, click order food now, get started. Now, doing this would take you maybe 10-15 minutes if you know all of the context above. But doing that for all 15 is going to save you an hour. Personalized recommendation. This is what I really enjoyed a lot, because it started telling me that, hey, utilize the user's preference and location data to offer tailored food. Now, this is interesting. I was obviously thinking of personalization, but now it's given words to it without really me actually ending up and telling and thinking of all of this, right? It tells me the home screen should show personalized recommendations based on previous orders. Of course, new users, so orders are not relevant. I handle that later, but on location and categories. And then it tells me a nice example of saying restaurant A is serving delicious pizza, restaurant B is serving authentic Chinese, and so on and so forth, right? It's giving me a nice first 20 discount coupon, which pretty much Swiggy already does. Now, here again, I didn't stop. What the next thing I did was, hey, can you personalize this better? Personalizing only on location is very basic. I'm sure there are more ways to personalize this recommendation. And that's when the magic gets better, because then it tells me, hey, okay, you can personalize it based on user preferences. You can personalize it based on order history, ratings and reviews, time of day, special occasions. Very interesting. Very interesting persona, really. If you are able to figure out a special occasion, a festival, and people are logging in and the onboarding is accordingly, you might lead to an interesting spike there. Seasonal recommendations, social connections, and local trends, right? A lot of these for existing users, so I mentioned it to write new users, and that's when it filtered out and told me, hey, why don't you mention trending new restaurants? Why don't you mention convenient and quick options that are available, or local favorites based on the locations? So from there, what happened was we got to a place where we were very clear in terms of, okay, here are a few ideas that are actually worth executing, which the prompt didn't have. Of course, if you had applied a lot more thought on the prompt, you may have reached this, but this is much faster because the work done here in the mega prompt was already done. You already knew all of this. It's just presented to it. And then by asking the right questions, we were able to actually come up with two or three interesting directions, which would have taken us a few hours of brainstorming otherwise. That is uh, the magic of ChatGPT, really. It's not in giving quick prompts and expecting quick results. It's in giving this kind of context and then digging deeper by asking questions and letting it run through it, right? We will look at one more example, which is a completely different Vyapar, MSME, completely different. And what we are trying to do here is we are trying to write a GTM document. Again, the mega prompt is you're an expert product marketer, loyalty points, and you're famous for writing catchy and excellent GTM documents, right? The context is, what is loyalty points? How are we measuring success? Purchase frequency, redemption rate, so on and so forth. And how do I want my GTM? I want it in potential markets, target persona, positioning, so on and so forth, right? Now, it gave me a first cut, which is again rephrased version of my mega prompt, which is what it usually does. It gives me, okay, here is loyalty points, here is the target persona, here is your positioning and how you should do it. Um, Here is the list of activities you need to start engaging, videos, start engaging, giving benefits, blog posts, webinars, do marketing, email campaigns. Pretty basic, but again, it gives me a list of things to do. And it gave me a nice, what is the desirable output, what are possible competitions, and what could be the future scope, right? But the magic really is in terms of asking it and finding it, uh, asking it these kind of questions where, hey, could you be more specific about the potential markets? Your answer was generic. And that is when it comes to saying that, hey, okay, I think retail sector, where you should target small and medium retail stores, you should target franchisee businesses, is where you should target with this loyalty point modules. Now, of course, this is information that you knew, but that's the thing, you already know a lot of this. It would take time for you to write and present and figure out all of these things when you're brainstorming alone. But with an assistant, you can throw things at it and it can throw back a more structured, well thought through version of it. That is where chat gpt is a game changer. I know, I think in this conversation we've mentioned a lot about its limitations, but if you look at it, having an assistant for virtually free is an incredible productivity hack. The only problem I feel is the hype around ChatGPT is so much that when you actually use it for things that it is actually good at, which is summarizing and giving you these kind of structured stuff, you are a little underwhelmed, right? You are a little, oh, I thought this was going to change the world as we know it. It might, it is not now. But just the fact that you've got an assistant 24/7 thinking at the level of an average junior engineer, junior product manager, junior salesperson is a game changer in itself. It's only going to go better. But most professionals, of course, know this, but most professionals are only going to only just play around with basic prompts. They don't go deeper. My uh, my suggestion to you is to go deep, to ask these questions, to personalize uh, the answers towards how you're going to use this, and that is what is going to hypercharge you as a PM. Don't get bogged down by all the hype, because of course the hype feels like it's going to change the world. It might, but it's not doing that now. But what it can really do is it can act as your co-pilot. It can act as a fantastic co-pilot, but it can only do it if you give it your knowledge. So it looks like a lot of work, but what you get out of it is going to save you hours and hours of work when you accumulate that over a period of time. It's not a quick hack. It's not like, hey, I joined product management and chat gpt is what I'm going to use to do all my work, and then suddenly everything is changed. No, it's a co-pilot. It's going to help you, but it's going to only reflect what you already know. Unless you go deeper, you're not going to get enough value out of it. So yeah, I still think chat gpt is a big game changer, but it's only going to be useful for people who know how to use it in the right way.